Before we go any further talking about this game, comment below your favorite kids game or game that children can appreciate. Today, we'll be talking about the only kid-friendly dungeon crawler that I know of. Hi, I'm Caravan Dan from Gaming Caravan, and today we'll be talking about Karak. Karak. There's no right way to say this. Thank you so much for Outset Media for sending me this game. We played it, and we have a lot of things to talk about. So without further ado, let's get started. Going to the overview of the game, we'll be talking about the theme, which is kill the dragon, simply. In Karak, there are a lot of tiles in there. Everyone's going to grab a player character that does different things, a player board with their inventory slots and all that fun stuff, and then a single starting tile of the dungeon. What you're supposed to do in this game is the game ends whenever someone kills the dragon. The way you kill the dragon is every time you go through the dungeon, you come across a room, you pull a tile out of the tile bag and put a monster on that tile. Monsters will have a value between like 2 to 15. If you go on a tile with that, you have to fight them and you have to roll dice to kill that monster. And then the dragon is level 15. If you kill a monster, by the way, you flip it over and you get to add the item into your inventory slot for you to use, whether as a weapon to permanently boost your stats or as an item for a one-time use effect. That's the entire game. Very simple. I just taught the entire game. It is genuinely that simple. So you're supposed to walk around trying to find the dragon and then kill the dragon. People have HP. If you run out of HP, then you lose your turn and then you have to go up 1 HP. But if you are at a healing fountain, you regen all of your HP, which is pretty nice. So yeah, the theme is simply just kill the dragon, dungeon crawling. The audience for this game are parents and families. This game is not your average dungeon crawler because it's made for kids. Now, I wish we knew it was made for kids before we played the game. You'd think the cartoon art style would give it away. However, a ton of games these days are made in that cartoon art style that's not necessarily just for kids. We have Flamecraft, which all ages love. Potion Explosion. Guildlands uses kind of our cartoon art style like Carcassonne, but it's not as cartoony. But anyways, yeah, so we played the game, had opinions, and then found out it is a kid's game, which really put the whole thing into a better context. The price of this game, MSRP, is $40, which is honestly not awful. You do get a good amount of replayability out of this. If you have kids, you're going to enjoy this until they hit probably like 12 years old, until they want to play more difficult, challenging board games. So it's a great way to get people introduced into board gaming. For the details of the game, we have the player count. This game plays between 2 to 5 players, which is a pretty wide player count, can fit most of a family for the vast majority of families. The weight of the game is ranked on BTG as 1.3 out of 5. If you don't know, Uno is basically a 1 out of 5. 1.3 means it's that simple, because truly your turns are that simple. You go onto a space. If it has a monster, you fight the monster, your turn's over. If you go to a different type of space, like an expansion tile, and you have to go fight something, you know, you do the thing and your turn's over. All you do basically is move up to 4 spaces, and then if you come across something, you do it and your turn ends. Very simple. And then the length of the game is 30 minutes about. I would say truly the game is 30 minutes regardless, because no matter the player count, because it doesn't matter how many players are in the game, your turns can take the exact same amount of time regardless of the quantity of players. But truly, they're just a good amount of tiles you have to get through from the drawing back. There's a ton of dungeon tiles, but there's a bunch of monster tiles you have to place down. And one of the monster tiles is the dragon. And even if the monster tile of the dragon is shown, you have to be able to kill it, which is not too easy for the record. Additionally, some people might not want to end the game because they don't have enough treasures to end the game with. But truly, you know, it's a decent time. I'll say that much. It's a good time. Going for the aesthetics now, it's a cute cartoony art style as mentioned before. If you look at the videos here, you'll see that this game really has like a nice allure, especially if you're into the cartoon art style, such as Flamecraft, things by Andrew Bosley. I know it's not as like, you know, artistic as that kind of art style, but still fits the bill. Anything that with the cartoon art style, if you enjoy that, this is a good one for you. The monsters look nice, the treasures look nice, the player boards look nice, the iconography is very clear about what it does and what to do on that case. So all of that stuff is pretty good. So the art style is decent. Going to the in-game conversation, the setup time truly is 5 minutes. Give everyone a player board. Give everyone a player to use the asymmetric or the variable player powers of. You're going to go into give everyone the player powers of that. And that's it. Put the single starting tile on the board. The end. That's how you set up the game. If it takes you longer than 5 minutes, you know, you're definitely playing with children or people who could not care less. The setup should not take longer than 10 minutes, even if it's your first time ever playing a board game. The teach for this game is 5 minutes max, and that's because, you know, I just taught you most of the game. already. It's very simple. You go on things, you roll dice, you kill things, you slot your treasures into your backpack if you can hold it. Whoever has most treasure in the game wins. That's the whole game. So it's very simple, which is why it's rated 1.3 out of 5. Going to the mechanics of the game, the three primary mechanics of this is dice rolling combat, the tile placement mechanic, where basically when you explore the dungeon, you'll grab a tile from the top of the deck and place it in front of where you're walking or into however you want. And the third is variable player powers, because every character you play as has two entirely different abilities, and the abilities are very nicely varied. I'll say that much. It's not like they don't overlap, and one's not necessarily better than the other in a lot of ways, because it really depends on what you want to do and what you want to go for, which I think is pretty nice. Everyone thought the other person was better than theirs, and that's a good way to tell that the player powers are pretty balanced when you have the grass is always greener type situation. Because if I say your character is better than mine, and then you agree that your character is better than mine, that's how you know it's kind of unbalanced. Going into what the game feels like, this game does feel like a dungeon crawler. You know, you're going, you're finding monsters, and then you're rolling dice to fight them, and then you're adding to your inventory if you kill them. That's pretty much the whole game. It's a very simple dungeon crawler, and it does feel like a kid's game, I'll say that much. It's not a game that's deceptive. It's like, oh, you know, it's good for kids and good for adults, kind of like Flamecraft, or kind of like River Valley Glassworks or some other all-play games. This game definitely does feel like a kid's game. The whole time we played it, we didn't have the context that it was a kid's game, so we were like, why is this game so simple? There's no way this is the entirety of the game. And then after we played the game, we found out that it is number 13 on BGG for the children's themed game. So I'm like, oh, that makes a lot more sense, because as much as I love dungeon crawlers, I need some more meat on these bones for me to enjoy it. So with that context of being a kid's game, because even at the end we said like this would be a good game for kids, not necessarily for adults. And this, I agree. If I'm playing a game with kids, it's a nice one. Just roll dice, have fun, teach them patience, teach them what board gaming is, and then allow them to start their journey if they want to go down that path of playing board games. What I liked about the game, I did like how I liked the core mechanic of the game. You know, go find a monster, roll dice, add up whatever's on your board with the dice, and try to get higher than the monster. It's super basic. It shouldn't be like the entire board game, even though it is in this case. Other than like you can use one-shot spells potentially to increase your bonus. It's very simple, and I can't say that enough. But I did enjoy the core concept of the game. I just wish it was fleshed out a lot more, which I believe it does in Karak 2, which is like the sequel game that came out after this. I believe it came out like recently, and I'm very excited to play that, because from what Karak 2 says is, if this game's a kid's game, the other game is more like a teenager game where it's good for kids and it's good for adults, which I think would be a great place for that game to sit at. A lot more involved. You have to build up your city, you have to go hunt monsters, you have to build up your equipment, build up your army, and so forth. And I think that's gonna be a lot better game for me. What I dislike about the game, considering it's a kid's game, putting that in the frame of context, I don't have anything I complain about other than the expansion for the game is a little too complicated for the age range. However, I don't know the age range on the expansion itself. I know for the game, it's, let me find that again. There we go, 7 and up. The expansion requires you to be able to actually like read and remember stuff. For a game for kids, the pictures are big, which again makes more sense now, but there's no player reference guide for you to remember what the symbols mean, so you really have to memorize what the symbols mean. They are very simple, so it's easy for us to play, but if I'm an 8-year-old, I'm gonna keep on forgetting what the sword symbol means, maybe what the spell symbol means. So I wish there was a player guide to give that there. But honestly, it's a good game. I can't really crap on anything about this because it is a children's game and they did it well. Going into the similar games, the only similar game I could say this is remotely similar to is Clink for Kids. I don't know if Clink for Kids is not like a real game, but it does feel like a Clink dungeon crawler-esque game, but for children. Instead of deck building, it's dice rolling, which is just, you know, different. So overall, I do believe it did it well for what they wanted to do. It's just not a game for me, because again, it's too simple, and I like heavier games or midweight games and like, you know, just more aggressive type games in general. Going to the would I purchase this game? For the MSRP of $40, I would not purchase this game. If I were to buy this game, it would be in the context of a gift for someone. And I am very fiscally responsible. But I would pay about like $25, $30 for this game. I would buy it for $40 if I had my own kids and I wanted a good copy of a game. Maybe if there's a bundle with the expansion, if it came with one of the two expansions or two expansions, I'd probably pay $40, $50 for that. But for just the base game, again, it's a little bit too simple for me to buy it unless I had my own kids to play with consistently. But I would get this game for like 30, 35 maybe bucks for like a gift for someone that wanted their kids to get into board gaming, which I know that's a pretty good market. Would I replay this game? Sure. you know? But after a play, you see everything there is to see. It's not going to change much after that. I'll say it right now. You saw everything that the game had to offer. It's more so, do you want to have that experience in different ways? That's the real question whenever you go into replaying this game. So I'm down, but I'm not going to pull off the shelf myself because, again, too simple. Before we go any further, do me a favor, like this video if you like the video. That really helps us in our algorithm. All of this being said, we're going to go into my final thoughts, which is going to my final ranking. If you don't know, every single game I do a review of, I go from, I put into my ranking of number 1 being the best game I played my entire life, and the lowest number being the worst game I played and never want to play again. I only rank mostly good games, but I added a lot of games recently to give better frame of context. So this game sits at a ranking 102 out of 133. So it's not at the bottom. It is technically a D tier game. It's like the lowest D tier game I have. But the game is good. It's not broken. F tier games are typically like, I don't even like what the core game has to offer. I do like what the core game has to offer, which is why it's a D tier. And it sits right underneath Villainous and right above Seven Wonders. I would rather do this for 30 minutes than play like an hour-and-a-half game of Seven Wonders again, because it really depends on who sits next to it. I don't really want to go through that again. And Villainous, I like Villainous more because it has a fully asymmetric playstyle to it for the most part, and I do believe it has a little bit more strategy, even though it is broken in a lot of regards. But yeah, again, thank you Outset Media for sending me a copy of this game. I do appreciate the support, and I'm very excited to see more games by them. If you want to see all the other games they sent me, we have a video in the comments of this video or on my channel you can check out called Outset Media 75 Games. Well, that's everything for today. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you guys have a great day. But peace out. Have a great day. God bless. And I really hope to see you at a table soon.